Hi everyone, welcome to this video tutorial for Asteroids. This is Asteroids for LaunchPad. This has been specially made for Novation LaunchPad. It will work on the Mini, the LaunchPad S and the regular LaunchPad. There'll also be a version coming out for LaunchPad PRO soon. So, what is Asteroids? It's a generative sequencer. There is a longer video, there's a link to it up on the Isotonic website, which is a full 25-minute tutorial, but this is really to focus on using it with LaunchPad. I'm also using the Launch Control XL. I'm actually using a custom script that again is from Isotonic. This is a great script. It's called the Launch Control XXL, and I've got it set up so that I'm in user 6 mode, and it means the controls here, I've actually got 24 device controls. You usually only get 8 on the Launch Control XL, but this means I can control up to 25 different parameters off the Max for Live device I'm using. So, Asteroids then, it's a generative sequencer. It's built in Max for Live, and it basically uses an 8x8 grid, and it moves asteroids around the grid. Let me just stop those. So if I hit play and trigger these, they can move around, and we can choose the start direction by using the arrow buttons here. So I could go left and right, and when they meet each other, they trigger notes. And this is just triggering a synth down here. We can turn them off here, and then if you want to set all of the directions in one global direction, hold down user 2 and choose one of the arrows, and you'll see all of the directions change for all asteroids. So these are the individual controls for each asteroid, and each asteroid is essentially like a little sequencer that moves around. So if I set them all to move up initially, and then we can control them separately as they begin. You need to be in user 2 mode to do this. You can carry on using regular session view, you can use the mixer, and you can have multiple asteroid devices running on different tracks and switch between the tracks. It works fine. So let's just start some things moving. Do the next one right, and then this one left, so they clash. So I've also got this ghost machine on. What the ghost machine does is it generates additional notes based on the notes that are already being generated. It looks at where they are, generates more notes, but it has a relationship, so it can always have a sort of a repetitive nature, or not if you choose random mode down here. The ghost notes though can have their own octave. There can be an octave lower or higher. They can have a different chance. The chance is the chance of them actually being generated, and then they can be longer notes, lower velocity. So you can hear there the longer, lower octave notes coming through when the ghost machine is on. And this is all coming from the same instrument. Okay, over to the MIDI side. So we have a scale section. We can choose which scale we would like the asteroids to be generated in. So I've got this in minor pentatonic. It's important that in this situation you have all of the asteroids running in the same scale, or with some settings, so they're going to work musically together. We can control other things with the MIDI section. So I can use the Launch Control XL for this. I can control the random velocity to get different variations, the actual velocity of the notes, so I can make them really quiet. The chance, which is the chance of them actually generating a note. With no chance, there'll be no notes generated. It's a way of easing off how much note information is coming out of the device feeding into your software instrument. And then we can do length, the length of the notes, so we can make them all quite long. Okay, we can choose the tonic, and these are all available in the drop-down menus as well. And then the octave, so we can switch it down an octave or 2, or up if we want to. Okay, we also have the range, so the range is here. This is the range of notes being generated, so at the minute we're generating up to 8 semitones within this scale. So with a higher range we can trigger really low notes and really high notes. And then we have this grid, and what the grid does is the grid chooses the layout of the notes. So what you have to imagine is there are 64 notes laid out in the background, and when asteroids meet, they trigger the notes from the grid that they are over. Best way to work out the grids is to have a look at the manual, and I've done some illustrations to show where the MIDI notes start. So as you can see, horizontal starts here and then it moves up and goes up to the top right, and then this one is just inverted. And there's 6 different modes: horizontal, spiral, and vertical, and there's an inverted version of each one. So let's leave that playing, let's go to another track. So again, make sure LaunchPad is selected. Again, I can play with some of the settings here. Randomise the velocity a little bit. In fact, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to turn these off, so I can turn them off individually here, and I'm going to set the global direction to up and get a few of these running. And I'm going to use static mode. So what static mode is it lets me insert stationary or static asteroids on the grid, so that when moving asteroids go over them, they actually trigger the note. You can either do this with mouse clicks over here, or again using LaunchPad, hold down user 2 and just place static grids, and they will be green. So your static asteroids, sorry. You can have as many of these as you like. So even though there are only 8 possible moving asteroids, you can have the ghost notes, the static grids. You can be generating a lot of note information if you want to from this. Okay, we can bring the ghost machining on this as well. Okay, let's go over to track 3. And this one, I'm going to set it quite slow. I'm going to use the global settings over here to change all of the rates to be quite slow. And this has a pad, like a long drawn out pad, so a slower asteroid movement will be better here. There are different grid modes as well for the ghost machine. Again, these are in the manual. These just determine which notes are generated from the ghost machine, again with a relationship to the notes being generated on the asteroid field, we could call it. Okay, let's go over to track 4. So track 4, we're going to do something a bit different. Track 4 has asteroids loaded, but it's in drum mode. So you'll see down here we have the keys mode and then drum mode. And what drum mode is for is really for using it with a drum rack. And the difference with drum mode is rather than notes being generated based on which grid they fall over, each asteroid has its own specific note assigned to it. So for example, asteroid 1 by default is assigned C1, note C1. You can change this. You can change it to whatever you want and save that as a preset. These, at the moment, the preset, the default here relates to the first 8 cells on a drum rack. So what you can do here is keep a sense of stability if you want to, or you can have it quite random. A cool thing you can do is, if I just solo this track, is to set up a static grid. So turn static mode on, use user 2 to enter some kind of grid or some kind of shape. I'm just going to do something like this for now. You can put any shape in you want, and it's going to give you some kind of interesting results. And then with the first mode, first asteroid, I'm going to tell it to work in classic mode and start moving from the right into the right. Sorry. What this will do, classic mode moves across like so. And again, all these modes are illustrated in the manual, like so. I thought it was the best way to show you how all these are working. So let's start this off. Okay, so at the moment that's working a bit like a classic step sequencer, it just moves through. But we could add more static grids, and then with the next cell or asteroid, it can go in a totally different direction, it can go at a different rate. We can also change things here, like we can say I want random velocity on this second one. I don't want the velocity to be too high, and take the chance down so it's not always going to trigger. Let's have another one going up as well. Okay, and as I said, you can switch seamlessly between different tracks and have multiple asteroid devices running at the same time. Okay, we can clear the grid here if we want to. Let's start again. Just do a different sort of shape on here if you want.